Hi guys, welcome to another session under the Signature series. This presentation intends to give you an overview of the life and career of the Chinese-American writer Nellie Wong. Nellie Wong was born on September 12, 1934 in Oakland, California. Wong's parents were Chinese immigrants. Her father had migrated to Oakland in 1912. He had 6 daughters and 1 son. Nellie Wong was the first US-born of her siblings, and 3 of her siblings were born in China. During World War II, Wong's family worked in a grocery store in Berkeley. Consequently, her parents started a restaurant called the Great China in Oakland's Chinatown, where Wong worked as a waitress during her youth. When World War II began, Japanese Americans were evacuated to concentration camps. The internment of her Japanese American neighbors left a profound impact on her intellectual development, sensitizing her to issues of racism and concerns of Asian Americans. During the time she worked as a waitress, she also attended public school, graduating from Oakland High School. When in her mid-30s, Wong was exposed to a whole new world when she began attending classes at San Francisco State University. It was here that Nellie the poet was born. This is when she began to write and publish her poetry. While at the university, Wong learned that she had much to offer as an older woman among young people. She also acknowledges her feminist classmates for encouraging her to write poetry that questions all kinds of injustice. This experience definitely gave a boost to her writing career. Wong was also involved with the Women Writers Union on campus, dedicated to issues of racism, sexism, and class. There, she encountered members of 2 affiliated socialist feminist organizations, Radical Women and the Freedom Socialist Party, and within a few years had joined their ranks. Nellie Wong has had a vibrant career, marking some very significant roles and positions. It is well known that she is a revolutionary feminist poet. After graduation from Oakland High School, Wong began to work as a secretary of Bethlehem Steel Corporation from 1952 to 1982. She worked as a senior analyst in affirmative action at the University of California, San Francisco, before retiring in 1998. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Wong co-founded and performed with an Asian American feminist literary and performance group called Unbound Feet at colleges, universities, and community centers. Lesbian poet, educator, and sister socialist feminist Nellie Wu was also part of this groundbreaking troupe. Furthermore, Wong has taught women's studies at the University of Minnesota and poetry writing at Mills College in Oakland, California. Wong's first collection of poetry, Dreams in Harrison Railroad Park, was published in Kelsey Street Press in 1977. This book went through 4 printings and was the most successful release in the history of Kelsey Street Press. Her other titles are The Death of Long Steam Lady, published by West End Press in 1986, and Stolen Moments, published in 1997. Her works have appeared in approximately 200 anthologies and publications. She has also co-edited Voices of Color with Yolanda Alanis in 1999, and 3 Asian American writers speak out on feminism with Nellie Wu and Mitsue Yamada in 2003. She has contributed to over 200 anthologies and publications, as I mentioned earlier. Her popular work, Asian American Women and Politics, was published in the Asian American Anthology. Her article, Women and Revolution, Alive and Inseparable, was a part of the series of lectures at Radical Women's Conference. Wong writes directly from her working place. She states, quote, "A lot of my poems come from the workplace. That is where I have experienced a great deal of sexism and racism," unquote. Other themes include her family history and Asian American identity, about which she has said, quote, "I care about the roots of Asian American culture and how and why they came here. It is something every Asian family has experienced," unquote. I would also like to quote Juan Felipe Herrera, who says, quote, "Wong's poetry fuses a stark historical landscape with deep passion for life that emerges from generations of cultural wisdom and generations of suffering," unquote. Her poetry thus includes issues of feminism, the fight against racism, workplace injustice, and finding identity as a writer and activist. Her poem, Where is My Country?, raises issues regarding her Chinese American identity, and her very popular poem, When I Was Growing Up, deals with both issues of sexism and racism. In 1983, Wong traveled to China on the first U.S. Women Writers Tour to China, sponsored by the U.S.-China People's Friendship Association, Betty Lee Olson, Alice Walker, Paul Marshall, among others. During the 1980s and 1990s, Wong was the keynote speaker at many national and regional conferences, including Third World Women and Feminist Perspectives, Women Against Racism, and the National Women's Studies Association. She has read her poetry in China, Cuba, and throughout the US, and she has also participated on panels concerning labor, Asian American literature, and poetry. In 1989, she was honored by the San Francisco Women's Foundation with the Women of Words Award. She has also received awards from Santa Barbara's Asian American Faculty and Staff Association and Kearney Street Workshop. In 1981, Wong participated in with Mitsuyo Yamada in a documentary film called Mitsuye and Nellie Wong, Asian American Poets, produced by Ali Light and Irving Saroff. It is about the first generation of Chinese and Japanese wives and daughters allowed into America by US immigration constraints and the difficulties and challenges their families had to face. The film focuses on how during World War II, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the Japanese were labeled as bad Asians, and her poem Can't Tell, which is recited in the film, highlights the author's attempt to understand why her Japanese neighbors were being sent to internment camps when she and her family as Chinese Americans were considered patriotic citizens. The film also shows lively exchanges between Wong and her siblings, highlighting the feistiness of her older sister Li Kang and her youngest sister Flo, who fought to attend university despite the family's limited financial resources. Wong's family members are artists, writers, and journalists. Her brother William Wong is author of Yellow Journalist Dispatches from Asian America, and her sister Flo Oi Wong is an installation artist. Excerpts from two of her poems have been permanently installed as plaques at public sites at the San Francisco Municipal Railway. Her poem Song of Farewell was installed in 1996 on an F-line Muni platform in the middle of the Embarcadero roadway near Greenwich Street. The poem, chosen by the San Francisco Arts Commission, is part of the Waterfront Transportation Project Historic and Interpretive Signage Program along San Francisco's North Embarcadero. She is currently the Bay Area organizer for the Freedom Socialist Party, and she's active with radical women and Bay Area united against war. So that is a brief biographical sketch of Nellie Wong, and in the next session I hope to critically examine the poem When I Was Growing Up by this very fierce tea lady Nellie Wong. Thank you.